1 minute, sir.
Okay.
Record icon.
Okay.
Namaskar. Myself, Dr. Pramod Kumar Gupta. I am inviting Dr. Anil Kumar, sir, for today's program. Welcome, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pramod Gupta ji. Again, I am with you, and I think if you look at days, this is the fourth day of our discussion. Let's recapitulate what we have discussed so far in last 3 days. I think if you recall, first day we discussed with you about the concept of action research. Then second day we talked of the very purpose of action research, wherein we have introduced that action research is to be done for professional development. Action research is to be to develop teacher as a practitioner, reflector, practitioner, reflector. Many terms we have used. And third day, when we discussed about the process of action research, we tried to explain in front of you that various steps involved in action research. Any question if you have, please feel free to ask till time. Please. Any question, please? Prasad sir, would you like to ask anything?
No, nice, sir. Okay, no question from me.
Okay, because your name is getting reflected on the screen, so I thought that yes, you might be interested in asking.
Sir, really, your analysis are very good, sir. Please.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right.
So, friends, somebody asked. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Are you listening me?
Yes, sir. Please continue.
There was some disruption from your side or from my side?
No problem, sir. Please continue.
Okay. So what I was discussing with you was somebody referred one question, really speaking, that is regarding who was the founder of action research, or who propagated this concept of action research in our education. These were the two questions raised by someone. Really speaking, I would not like to to go into details of the past history, but definitely I would like to answer these two questions. As far as practice of action research is concerned, as far as popularization of this action research is concerned, Stephen Corey was the person responsible for that. And one of the paper he has written is how do I improve what I am doing. That was the title of the paper which he introduced to popularize the concept of action research in education. Again, I am repeating, the title of the paper was how do I improve what I am doing. Exactly what we have discussed so far in the action research, he was referring to that point only, that as a teacher, if we have to improve ourselves, how one can improve ourselves. So the purpose is, the concept is that action research was introduced by Stephen Corey. And but if you go into the history of that, then another name is also responsible for action research. That name is Kurt Lewin, Kurtlewin. And Kurt Lewin was a German American social psychologist. He introduced, as far as the introduction of this concept of action research is concerned, as far as use of this particular terminology of action research is concerned, this Kurt Lewin was responsible for that introduction of the word action research. I think one should be aware of all these two individuals responsible for action research. Who has founded, who has invented, doesn't matter to us, really speaking. We would like to do action research. We would like to carry away with that action research concept. So concept is more important, but what is important is how we should conduct action research in our system. And the basic purpose, let's not forget that basic purpose of action research is to improve ourselves. So that's why again and again I am emphasizing that the moment we talk of action research, this action research, again I am repeating, is to be conducted by the teacher of the classroom to solve his or her own problem. So for his or her own improvement, as was said by Corey, Stephen M. Corey, that my task is to improve myself. So I am doing research for myself. Action research enters into that field because action research provides us that particular strategy, that particular approach, wherein we are improving ourselves on the basis of hard collected data facts. So there is an element of research in action research. There is an element of action also in action research. And both these terms joining together is constituting the meaning of action research. That's the whole background I would like to discuss with you as far as this action research is concerned. Now, today's discussion, let's come to any question, any other question. If you want to ask, please feel free to ask for the last 3 days. Any question, please? Omirji, would you like to say something? Any other participants, please?
Hello. Sir, research for ourselves. How far is correct?
Pardon?
Research for ourselves.
Yes.
How far it is correct?
Research for ourselves. It is not research for ourselves. It is actually research to improve ourselves.
Yeah,
But the focus is why we want to improve. The purpose of our improvement is for the benefit of our students.
yeah, really.
What is our existence as a teacher?
Yeah,
What
to,
is
to
what
improve.
is the existence of an institution? I think I always used to say that there is no existence of institution, there is no existence of college, there is no existence of university, there is no existence of even teacher if students are not there in the classroom.
Yes, yes,
So,
exactly.
so exactly what we are doing, we want to improve not for ourselves.
Yeah,
We want to improve ourselves for the cause of students.
yeah, definitely.
And that's the basic purpose. And that's why this research is entering into this circle. So again, let me remind you, action research means wherein research is of course there, but with action research is there. At the end of research, we are
Sir.
not ending. There is no end point in action research. At
Yeah,
the end of the action research, when we are having conclusions and findings with us,
sure.
we are taking actions based on those findings and conclusions. So again, we are repeating that cycle, and even if we are not satisfied with those
Yeah.
findings, and after that, those actions, again, we are repeating that. That's why we say that action research is a cyclic process. So let's not forget that action research is basically, if you say it is to improve a student, but who is responsible for improving a student? Teacher.
Definitely.
Okay, so I think I
Yes,
am
sir.
clear in that.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
Any other question? I will be happy to take those questions. Any other question, please? Those who are present, please raise questions so that I can move now next. If no question, I will be moving to the next topic. Any question, please? Good number is there. In spite of Sunday, I think many of you are present in this. This shows that yes, you all are very much interested in action research, and this is the success of this program, I think. Right now, I am having some 15, 16 participants with me. Dimple Juneja, are you listening me, Dimple? Mr. Vidyasagar?
Yes, sir, we are listening.
Okay. May I know who is speaking? Hello?
Yes, sir.
And any questions so far? If you have, please raise that question. Otherwise, I will move to the next.
There is no question.
No question. Okay. Thank you very much. Let me move to the next topic. Okay. Are you able to see my slide?
Yes, sir.
So what is the topic? Who will tell me? What is the topic? Can you see my topic there?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
What is that topic? Read it.
Data collection techniques.
What is the difference between data collection and data collection techniques? Why I have moved from data collection to data collection techniques now? Who will explain me?
Yes, sir. What are the process we are supposed to follow in collecting data? Is techniques of data.
Process, or should we say tool or techniques?
Yeah, tool otherwise.
Yeah, I think partially you are very correct.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
far, we have talked of data collection only, that there is a need to collect data for arriving at certain solutions.
Acha.
third day we have discussed this part of that. Now question is that yes, we have to collect data, but
Yeah.
how to collect that data and with what help I have to collect that data as a researcher?
Hmm.
Because collection of data is a tedious task. Collection of data is a very difficult task, and let me say with this that if really speaking we would like to do action research, simply it's not worth doing unless it is done well. What is the meaning of that? No action research is worth doing if it is not done well. That is the concept, that is the message we should keep in our mind, that the moment we are undertaking that action research, we have to think of different situations, we have to think of the quality of action research also. And one of the important aspect of bringing in quality in action research is that we have to select, we have to pick up, we have to identify suitable data collection tools or techniques. I have used the word suitable. What is the meaning of this word suitable? The meaning of this word suitable is that we have to tune our tools and techniques to the requirement of the action research data. What is the requirement of the data? We have to decide prior hand before we are entering into the process of action research, before we are embarking upon the real collection of the data for action, for our topic of action research. So as a researcher of action research, as a teacher also, because in action research, again I am repeating, I am again and again mentioning that teacher and researcher both are same. So many times, many books, many literature is referring to teacher researcher, because researcher is not different than the teacher. So in action research, researcher is teacher researcher. As a teacher researcher, really before beginning our data collection, we should first decide that whether we would like to collect that data from the primary source or whether we would like to collect the data from secondary sources. Indirectly, or in other words, what I mean to say is that there are two sources of data collection. The first one is primary source of data collection, and the second one is secondary source of data collection. Another important aspect is whether we would like to have qualitative data or we would like to have quantitative data. What is the requirement of our action research? What is the nature of the topic? Depending upon the nature of the topic and the circumstances, evidences we require to have, and the context wherein we are conducting this action research, depending upon all these parameters, all these outer circle requirements, the very first requirement of the action researcher is to decide upon the aspect of primary and secondary data, and then qualitative and quantitative data. Without entering into the much details of these two aspects of nature of the data, I would say that sometime primary data is easily available, sometime primary data is not easily available, so we have to have dependency on secondary data. So that's why I said that context is more important. That's why I said it required to be kept in mind that what is the nature of our research title. And depending upon that requirement of the nature of the work we are undertaking, depending upon the context wherein we are undertaking these tasks, we first of all, let's decide that whether we will go for primary data or we will go for secondary data. Likewise, another important aspect where decision of a researcher is needed is before collection of the data. Needed is that whether qualitative data will suffice or quantitative data is required to be done, or sometime we have to have qualitative and quantitative both type of data with us. Sometime whatever qualitative data we are collecting, we have to triangulate with quantitative data. Sometime we are having quantitative data, but we have to triangulate with qualitative data. Yesterday I have discussed with you some aspect of some aspect of some aspects, or I would say some issues wherein we can triangulate our data. So triangulation process requires sometime qualitative data, sometime quantitative data. So one data is to be triangulate with the other nature of the data. Then we say, yes, we are entering into the quality of data collection techniques. So keep in mind these two, that primary, whether we have to have primary source or secondary source, or qualitative data or quantitative data. With this, we will be moving further. What is this? If we go a little further in that primary or secondary data sources, primary means wherein original data is being corrected directly from the respondents. You may think of using surveys, you may think of using interviews, you may think of conducting experiment, and then whatever data is available with you, you can analyze based on that data. So primary data wherein you are having original or direct collection, first hand information you are getting from the respondent. You yourself is involved in collection of the data, then we say it is a primary data. Secondary, when someone is collecting for some other purpose and you want to use that data. For example, I think you must be knowing well that NCERT has conducted a national assessment survey in schools. They have conducted the test and then they have analyzed that data also. If you are in the need of secondary data, then you can take that NAS data into your account and then you can analyze that data as per your requirement. You can pick up that data. So you are entering into the secondary source of data. But when you are in the primary source of data, you yourself is conducting the test as NCERT conducted first time that test. So we have to decide that whether we have to have primary data or we have to have secondary data. Definitely, when we are talking of the primary data, there is no doubt in that research is more original with the primary data. But situations are warranting us to use secondary data. We are not having facility of having primary data. That's why we are taking that. So it's not wrong also to take that secondary data, but think of whatever data, whatever secondary source you are taking, they are reliable, they are dependable, they can be trusted. Whatever scores you are having, whatever values you are having, whatever behaviors you are collecting from the secondary source, they can be trusted upon that. So data, whether primary is there or secondary is there, issue is of how far that data is reliable, how far that data is valid, and who has collected that, what is the quality of the person who has collected that data, what is the dependency, how far we can have dependency on that person, on that organization, on that institution who has collected the data as a primary data. So there is no, we should not question in use of secondary data, but ensure, make it sure that whatever data we are taking, whether from primary source or from secondary source, it is valid, it is reliable. I think one of the one of negativity with primary collection of the data is it requires more time and efforts on the part of the researcher. And most of the time, particularly when we are talking of action researches, most of the time our teachers are too busy in taking classes. So in that situation also you can think of taking secondary data. But again, you have to think of, we don't have control on the content and the reliability of the data. हमारा कंट्रोल नहीं है, हमें जो कुछ भी डेटा दिया गया है, जिन कंडीशंस में कलेक्ट किया गया है, वी आर नॉट अवेयर ऑफ दैट एग्जैक्टली. जैसे मैं एग्जांपल के लिए कहूँ कि मैंने अचीवमेंट सर्वे कलेक्ट किया, आउटकम बेस्ड एनालिसिस किया, लेकिन मुझे ये नहीं मालूम कि ये जो मैं जिसका एनालिसिस कर रहा हूँ, जो डेटा मेरे पास है, उस डेटा के एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में कौन इन्वॉल्व था, जिस टूल के माध्यम से, जिस अचीवमेंट टेस्ट के माध्यम से वो डेटा हमने इकट्ठा किया है, वो उस टूल की क्वालिटी कैसी थी, उस टूल की रिलायबिलिटी क्या थी, उस टूल की वैलिडिटी क्या थी. So all these are, for all these aspects, we are in dark as far as secondary data is concerned. But in primary data, most of the time we are aware of that yes, I have used this particular tool for collection of the data. I know for sure that this is reliable, this is valid, or this is reliable and valid up to this extent. So I will be having a caution in my study that whatever data I have used, I am trying to analyze that data, and accordingly I am trying to arrive at findings. So that caution is there, and I am mentioning that caution in my report. So what I mean to say is there nothing harm in that if you are using secondary data, nothing harm in that if you are using to be used or so we have talked of primary and secondary data there. Then we were talking of qualitative and quantitative data. I think all of you are very clear in your mind that most of the time we are dealing with quantitative data. But nowadays there is trend of having nature of data as qualitative also. Many times we have to live with qualitative data also, and it's not wrong also that because the moment we are talking of quantitative data, there are some weaknesses in that data, that it is showing you number but not the quality of that. But when you are talking of qualitative data, in qualitative data we have depth of that data. In quantitative data, for an example, I would like to say that 15 students achieved highest marks in the classroom, or 15 students achieved more than 50% marks in the classroom. Doesn't say 50 students what is the quality of that, but if we are having qualitative data, then we say 50% means what? We say that yes, these 15 students achieve these many scores. So we can go into depth of that data when we are having qualitative data. Qualitative data actually involves describing subjective experience. All of you must be that I say good, how good I am. I would say how bad I am. So quantitative data then doesn't say about the experience, but qualitative data say about some kind of experience, some kind of interpretation is involved in that, some kind of understanding of the concept is involved in that. And that's why many times nowadays we are thinking of having quantitative versus qualitative data both. With these two decisions in our mind, we talk of data collection techniques. But again, I would say, prior to thinking of what technique or tool for data collection a researcher, a action researcher, a teacher should use, he should or she should ask himself or herself the basic question And the first question is, why are we collecting this data? What is the purpose of this data collection? What exactly we want to have with this data? What exactly are we collecting, whether we are collecting qualitative data or quantitative data, or what do I do with these all these data? मैं इस data के साथ क्या करने वाला हूँ? What is the purpose? What analysis I will be doing with that data? Because बहुत सारा चीजें एक दूसरे पर interdependent हैं. Many times we have qualitative data, but we don't have analysis technique. We wanted to reach to the conclusion quantitatively, but we have collected qualitative data. So think of at least 2 times before really deciding about the nature of the technique, nature of the tool we would like to use for data collection purposes. Ask yourself also, where are we going to collect data and for how long? Not only these 3 basic questions, we have to think of questions like from where we will be collecting that data and how long we will be collecting that data. Then time also, time slot also, whether in the evening, in the morning we are collecting data, whether continuously we will be collecting data, whether for day we are collecting data, whether alternative days we are collecting data, and how long you will be collecting. Because directly or indirectly, all these factors are contributing to the nature of the data which you are collecting. For example, if I say, if I am collecting data continuously with same subjects for more than 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, you will not be having real data collection. You will be having data which is not representing the real image of that particular subject. So very important aspect is think of how long you will be collecting data and when you will be collecting that data. Some data is required to be collected in the morning, fresh mind. Sometime we are collecting data in the evening only because we want to see the whole day's work, and then we want to see what is the level of fatigue with that. So keeping in mind the fatigue level of that respondent, we would like to collect data because our nature of the research is like that. When we are thinking of collecting data in the morning, our research says yes, data is to be collected in the morning. So again, I would say, depending upon the nature of our problem, depending upon the research work we have undertaken, we have to think of whether we are going to collect data for continuously for so many days, when we will be collecting, and then where we will be going to collect data, whether it is available at our immediate near. Then besides the few more questions you have to ask, who is going to collect data? Whether I am sending my research assistant, whether I am sending my junior, whether I am sending my peon to collect that data, or I myself will be going to collect that data. Again, there is variation in that. When we are collecting data, we are knowing well what we want to collect. We are knowing well what is the background of collection of data. But when we are sending a research assistant, probably that research assistant is not properly equipped with the requirement of the data collection. So he is collecting that data. You will be getting that data with the help of research assistant. But if research assistant is not well versed with the research process, probably whatever data you will be getting with the help of that research assistant will not be of that validity, will not be of that reliability which you are expecting from your research study. So again, I would request you to think of twice again that who is going to collect that data? How will data be collected and displayed? Many times, whenever we are in the process of collection of data, whenever we are in the process of displaying of that data, it depends that sometime we are collecting that data in verbal format only, Sometimes we are collecting that data in the written format only. Sometimes we are displaying through video programs. Sometimes we are recording. Sometimes we are not recording. So what I mean to say is, before really deciding on the techniques or tools of the data collection, my request of the situation, the context, the circumstances for which you are collecting the data. Particularly, I am talking of nature of the study. Particularly, I would like to request you to please look at the problem which you have undertaken for your research work. Based on that, keeping that in mind, think of these questions, and if you then, when you are having proper answer to these questions, I think you should go ahead with data collection. All of you must be aware, and I think everybody in the field of education is well aware of the fact that data collection, wide range of tools and techniques are available for getting the evidences. Evidences means data. For getting data, required data, number of tools and techniques are available. Most popular are day-to-day observations are there. We are knowingly, unknowingly, formally, informally, we are conducting interviews with our students, with our colleagues, with our teachers, with our subordinates, with our supervisors, with our bosses. So every day, formally or informally, we are collecting data, maybe through observations, our own observations, maybe through our own interviews. Sometimes we are having focus groups also. In a small group, we are collecting data from our respondents. Particularly for action research, we are having lesson studies also with us. As a teacher, we are dealing with the students in the classroom, so every day we are having lesson study with us. So lesson study is also one of the good source of data collection, good sources of getting evidences available for the classroom teaching learning process. Then we are having readily available statistical materials also. For example, almost in all the schools and colleges, we are having an attendance sheet. So that kind of data is available. We are having performance data also. Annual reports are there. Annual report card is there. Then not only annual card, but I mean to say result details are available in each and every school and colleges for each and every student in each and every subject or the paper also. All these are normally available data evidences which we are having, and we can easily go to have data from these sources. And these are general first-hand information we can get from these sources. I think another one is, we, all of us is well aware of the fact, wherever we are working, in which school we are working, what is happening in my school, what are the circumstances, what are the conditions taking place in my school. For example, if I say, if I am engaging a class of 50 students, how my 50 students are sitting in that particular class, whether there is proper arrangement, proper lighting facilities, proper ventilation in the classroom or not. So what is happening in the school in relation to the topic? Just think of relating what is happening in the school with the topic under consideration. That is, whatever topic you are studying, just try to link that what is happening in the school, and try to notice, try to jot down what exactly you are aware of, what is happening in the school, particularly when we are talking of the topic related to that school. So think of local situations, For action research, I am talking of think of local situations first. Think of your school climate first because you are well aware of that. Think of school environment first because you are well aware of the environment wherein you are working and your students are studying. So study local situation because action research topic is localized topic. Research topic is of immediate need to you, and it is happening in your school only and in your neighborhood only. So you are the better just to look at the local situations which you are facing. So context you are well aware of, evidences you can take from your students also. So these two situations are there that you are aware of, well aware of, I would say, local situation, and you are knowing evidences from the students also. This is what you are having as a basic data with you on the topic which you are really speaking, handling in the form of action research. Again, I mentioned to you that we have decided that yes, we will be having qualitative data or we will be having quantitative data because nature of the work is like that. Then we can go for, now look at this particular diagram. Here is data collection. Then these are observation, interviews, journals, existing documents. These are all techniques or tools available for getting qualitative data. And that's why we say that qualitative data collection techniques means wherein we are using observations, wherein we are using interviews, wherein we are having journals, wherein we are having use of existing documents and annual reports and etc. etc. So all this data is really giving us qualitative nature of the data. But if you look at that, you have decided that no, for this study, quantitative data is required and I will go with quantitative data. Then I would request you to please go for surveys, go for questionnaires, go for rating scales, go for checklists, go for even conduction of the test, achievement test, attitude test, perception test, and you can think of performance test. The number of performance tests are there. Sometimes we call it as aptitude test, sometimes we call it as ability test, sometimes we say it is a achievement test. So depending upon the nature, that what type of test is best suiting to your requirement of the topic, you decide which test I will be using to collect quantitative data. So technique can be the conduction of the test, but what test, which tool, whether it should be outcome based tool or it should be general tool, whether it should be general or a specific tool. So depending upon that, again I would say that if your focus is on quantitative data, you may use surveys, you may use questionnaires, you may use rating scales, you may use checklists also, you may use test and other formal instruments also. There are so many instruments available, so many tools available, so many psychological tools also available with you. So depending upon the situation, think of using that. But keep in mind whether you are having qualitative data collection technique or quantitative data collection technique, and whether your concern is to get qualitative data or quantitative data, you have to keep in mind that data will be of use only if it will be having accuracy, it will be having credibility, it will be having dependability. So qualitative data, three dimensions are very important. And these three dimensions are accuracy of that qualitative data. In qualitative data, we have to be extra cautious as far as accuracy is concerned, because it is subjective in nature. So think twice of using that particular data. Then this data must carry creditability. Creditability should be there, trust should be there, that yes, I have collected this data, so I'm sure that yes, it is creditable data. Dependability, I can depend upon that, I can trust upon that, I can rely upon that qualitative data. So qualitative data associated characteristics we need to ensure if we are having data analysis that is qualitative data. For quantitative data analysis, two very important characteristics are there, and those very important characteristics as an education person all of us are well aware of. They are validity and they are reliability. I think yesterday also I have discussed with you validity and reliability concept. Again, because these are two most important characteristics of a quality of quantitative data. A data is of no use if we are not having validity of that data. A data is of no use if we are not having reliability in that data. So reliability, think of that. Validity, also think of that. Validity can be established by different formats. You may be having face validity, content validity, concurrent validity, predictive validity. You might be intercorrelations between total and you can think of individual items. So go whatever method you want to use for establishing validity, think of that validity first. So what I mean to say is, when you are in the process of the collection of data and when you are in the process of identifying the tool or technique for data collection, depending upon you require qualitative data or quantitative data, decide about which tool or technique you will be identifying depending upon these situations, and how much quality you can ensure endorse when you are identifying a tool and technique for collection of the data. I think to go further, when we are having use of qualitative data collection techniques, we are sure that we will not be getting data in numeric form. Qualitative data techniques are giving us data in narrative or in words form. And these words can take different forms also. You will be getting that data in interview transcripts. You will be getting that data that is of qualitative nature in the form of observational notes. You may be getting that data in the form of general entries. You may getting that data in the form of transcriptions of audio and video tapes. You may getting that data in the form of existing documents, records, reports, annual reports, monthly reports, progress report, progress card, so on. So things are there. But just think of that whenever you are in the process of collecting qualitative data, always you are thinking of collecting that data in words form or in narrative form. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Sir, we are listening.
Acha, listening now. I'm not sure whether.
No,
So,
we are listening and we are
so-
looking your PPT.
okay, very good, very good. Just give me a little bit knock so that I am making sure that yes, you are listening.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So let's take the very first tool and technique, that is observation. I think everyone of you is observing everyday phenomena, day-to-day phenomena in your life. Many things one is observing, but as a teacher, when you are observing, you should be little more careful. It is be more cautious while observing. What is to be observed is to be fixed first, because observation is careful watching. The word careful is denoting something that you are not simply watching, you are carefully watching. You are not simply recording, you are systematically recording. And what you are recording, what you are carefully watching is observation is nothing but seeing and hearing in a particular setting. So whatever you are observing, carefully observe that, systematically observe that, and think of, particularly in qualitative situations, think of describing the situation from where you have taken note of that observation. Some of the situations where you can think of observing phenomena, they can be when to check for students' non-verbal reactions. I think your topic relates to something non-verbal communication, non-verbal reactions. You cannot go with other instruments or other techniques or other tools. Really speaking, you have to think of observation only, because this is the only tool in this situation wherein you can observe non-verbal reactions, non-verbal communication of your clientele or of your respondent. So observation is the only tool, I would say, available for observing non-verbal behavior of your respondents. You can think of observation also, you can think of observing the situation. I think if your topic is related to something occurring in the classroom, you want to notice what is happening in the classroom, and you want to record that, you want to collect data with respect to that. Again, tool is, technique is observation. Likewise, when your students are working in small groups, again, observation is the right technique to observe those students when they are working in small groups. Likewise, particularly when you want to see interactions and relations in between, in front of you, the only technique or tool available for recording of the data is observation only. So think of the observation from that point of view. Now, again, I would say, when you are observing, you have to keep in mind that whatever you are observing should be in terms of quality. And that's why, to support that observation, we talk of structured observations. These structured observations can be with the help of some document with you when you are observing some phenomena to happen. And based on that, we can categorize observations into highly structured, semi-structured, or we can say unstructured also. Based on to what extent we would like to use our help, we use our available help in the form of questionnaire, in the form of questions, we can describe those observations as highly structured, we can describe those observations as semi-structured, and we can say yes, unstructured also we are having given. So depending upon the situation, think of having observations. I think I should not enter into details of all these, because we all know that observation schedule is there. Many times, to facilitate our observation, we are preparing observation schedule. Schedule is nothing but consisting of pre-decided questions which we would like to observe during the process of observation. Structured when we are totally dependent on that particular schedule, do nothing else during the process, simply observe that particular aspect. But all of you are aware it is very difficult to conduct a structured observation, because many things go simultaneously along with that particular topic, that particular issue you are trying to observe. Along with that, many other things are happening. So it is very difficult to discriminate, dissect other aspects from your own observational aspects. Unstructured or semi-structured, compared to structured one, you have flexibility to attend other activities occurring simultaneously in front of you when you are observing that. It is, you are engaging in brief but intense observations, and you are taking note also. And I think all of you again well aware of that whenever we are observing a class, usually we are preparing field notes, usually we are preparing teacher diaries or student diaries also. The only request to you is that whenever as an action researcher you are observing some phenomena, try to record everything you see during that process. Not only you try to record what is happening, but you try to record why this is happening, what are the circumstances under which this phenomena is happening. Because in qualitative research, in qualitative data collection, context, circumstances in which things are happening is of great significance, is very important to all of us, because this thing is happening, and why this is happening, when we will be asking that why this is happening, because these conditions were there, because these contexts were there. So these things are happening because these were the situation, and we were sitting in these situations. So context noting is very important in qualitative research, particularly when we are collecting qualitative data in nature. Likewise, think of the interview. It is one of the alternative to ask directly, to observe directly. Instead of observing, what we are doing is we are directly asking questions to our respondent. Again, as we have done in case of observations, here also in interview case also, we are having structured, semi-structured and open-ended interviews. Structured, again we are preparing interview schedules. Schedules means wherein we are having already decided questions which are to be asked during the interview. So well-structured interview is there, and in that case we are already having pre-decided question. We are not supposed to move here and there from that given schedule of interview. And that's why structured interview, many times we are not getting the type of data which we wanted to have. So we enter into the field of semi-structured or sometime even open-ended interviews. Semi-structured, yes, we are having certain things in writing, and we are having, based on those certain things, we are creating also some certain things. So when interviewer is asking questions to interviewing, many times he or she is referring to the schedule of the interview. But if required, if demanded, if need of the hour is, then that interviewer is also using his or her own level of intelligence, designing then and there additional questions, because they are related questions, and interviewer is thinking that it is very much needed for getting that data. So semi-structured means, though we are having designed interview schedule with us, but interviewer may take additional, may leave some questions, and may prepare, may put in front of the interview, some more questions prepared at that point of time only. But when we are having open-ended interviews, we don't have any pre-decided questions. So as and when situations are warranting, we are preparing questions and we are asking our respondent to reply that. To me, neither structured nor open-ended, both these strategies are not working well. And that's why most of the time, the action researchers should prefer semi-structured, wherein some basic questions are prepared, but if need be, one can deviate from those basic questions and one can add additional questions to get really, because real issue is getting the response of the question which you wanted to have. You might have missed in your interview schedule, so at that point of time it is coming as a response. Interrelated questions you have to ask, and it is very much necessary, and that's why in many situations we say that semi-structured interviews are the best option for taking interview with your participant, particularly when you are talking of action research situations. Semi-structured, you can see here, base questions are ready, but you are required to deviate from those, so deviated. When you are preparing interview schedule, it is necessary to keep your questions very brief, very clear, and very simple in language. Already I have mentioned with you that semi-structured or open-ended formats are best for that purpose. Likewise, you can think of, I have certain examples here. For example, my base question was, what do you enjoy most about this school? But this particular question is not sufficient to give answer to my query, which I desire to have from which I am working on that as a action researcher. So adding that question is required, means what do you enjoy most about this school will be coming out from the respondents as response when we will be posing another question like, why do you enjoy that aspect so much? What along with what you should include why also, because you have to go into the depth of that. Do you think other schools have this particular benefit? So many times with the base question which you have included in your interview schedule, you are required to supplement some other questions also connected with that basic question. And here some basic questions and connected questions are there given. What do you like least about this school? Supported is, why do you like that so little? Is there anything that principal or teacher could do to improve that aspect? Likewise, we have to have interrelated questions also along with the basic question, and these are the things possible in semi-structured or open interview. Likewise, open-ended. Open-ended means almost description of the situation. You are interested in having from the respondent that you describe in detail what you want to say. We are not interested in pinpointed answer, one sentence answer. You describe the situation, and that's why in open-ended interviews, most of the time questions are like, what does school mean to you? What do you like about school? So openness is there, open-ended is there. What do you dislike in this particular school? Likewise, freedom is there to select, pick up responses as per the requirement. Then we are having focus group. Simultaneous interviews of people in relatively small group. focus group is nothing but a kind of interview, but this interview is not with individual. This interview is with a small group of individuals who are really your subjects for the study. And this focus group normally take 1 to 2 hours time, less than 1 hour, because setting is required in group focus group. Setting is required, introduction is required, and then you have to start that. So focus group require little more time to be on the part of the researcher. But this focus group is particularly important when you are having limited time with you, because individually you cannot go for each and every subject. So you call everyone at one place and try to have focus discussion. Another important and very important aspect is, and you might have experienced, because I have experienced it many times, that when I am conducting interview, when I am conducting focus group, the change is, if I am saying something, another will support or contradict or will add on that. So people are more comfortable talking in the small group, and the people is having tendency for people to feed off others' comments. किसी ने कुछ कमेंट किया, मैं उसको ऐड कर दूंगा, मैं अपने से नहीं कहा मैंने कुछ भी, लेकिन मुझे मालूम है कि इसने ये कहा, तो मुझे एक इमीडिएटली रेस्पॉन्स याद आ जाएगा और मैं उसमें ऐड कर दूंगा. इसको कहते हैं फीड ऑफ अदर्स कमेंट. दूसरे कमेंट को कैरी करना, दूसरे कमेंट को कॉन्ट्राडिक्ट भी करना. मैंने कुछ नहीं कहा, खुद ने कुछ नहीं कहा, लेकिन जैसे ही दूसरे ने कुछ कहा उसको कुछ याद आ गई. तो फोकस ग्रुप का एक बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज ये है, जो साइलेंट रेस्पोंडेंट हैं उनको भी बोलने को मजबूर कर देता है, क्योंकि वो रुक नहीं पाते सामने. वो दूसरे की कमेंट्स पर रिएक्शन देना चाहते हैं, दूसरे रेस्पॉन्स को कमेंट करना चाहते हैं, और इसलिए उनकी खुद की बात निकल आती है. दिस इज वन ऑफ द ग्रेटेस्ट एडवांटेज ऑफ यूजिंग फोकस ग्रुप. लेकिन फोकस ग्रुप तभी सक्सेसफुल होगा when each participant, when interviewer, group discussion expert is ensuring that each participant is speaking and sharing his or her perspective, because there is a tendency of few participants that they will not like to speak in the group. So ensure as a researcher that each participant is speaking and sharing his or her perspective, so that you are knowing what is his or her opinion about that particular topic. Researcher to closely monitor discussion, because as a researcher you have to monitor that discussion, because in absence of monitoring of that discussion, nothing will come out of that discussion. So try to monitor that. Double responsibility of the researcher is that when the focus group discussion is being conducted, ensure that each one is participating, ensure that you are monitoring that discussion, and you also try to set guiding questions also for focus group. Pilot those questions, try to introduce those questions. So guiding questions are also to be set for focus group discussion. All these are requirement of the focus group. But focus group discussion is one of the very good tool or technique for data collection nowadays, and it is being used by different persons. Many researchers are nowadays using this particular strategy or the tool for data collection. Likewise, these are some of the sample questions you can think of. You just read those questions. I will not be discussing these questions because I have to go further. Okay. Likewise. So these are some of the questions which you can think of, you can set for piloting your focus group discussion. Nowadays, there is concept of email interviews also with the availability of network situations with all of us. And I think day by day, networking is increasing in all the organizations, particularly during COVID period. We have one of the greatest advantage that those who were not interested in having networking, they are also entered into that networking process because it was the need of the hour. And now, to me, many of the schools are networked with each other. Many of the schools are having internet facilities. So, action researcher, now task can be a easy one by way of sending email interviews. Email interview is also one of the important technique nowadays. I think all of you must be aware of Google Forms also. Google has provided that facility wherein you can send your questionnaire in Google Form also. You can conduct email interviews also because many of the IT organizations nowadays are conducting email interviews also. So think of using that particular technique or strategy for your action research purposes also. I think this is one of the benefit of internet services. But it is not free from demerits. And the caution is there might be possible ethical complications. Confidentiality is lost in email interviews because you might be knowing that through server many of the things might be attempted. You can think of having access to a server from where data is being collected. Or by a server, I think you might have listened recent examples of many organizations, many international organizations who are selling that data because they are having server with them. So be cautious of conducting email interviews if your task is very confidential, if your topic doesn't require to be opened in front of the public. If your data required is not to be opened, don't think of email interviews because somebody may intercept your email responses from you. So interception possibility is there. So certain ethical complications are there, and these are day by day increasing. So think of using email interviews only when topic is of normal nature. Topic does not require any ethical consideration to be taken care of. I think all of you must be aware of that whenever we are conducting interviews as a part of action research, lot of clarifications can be sought from our respondents. Interview provide us the situation wherein lot of clarifications can be sought. You can pose more than one question. You can pose a small time question, or you can pose long time questions. You can pose questions whatever you require so that you can probe and you can go into depth of that situation. In interview, data can be corrected and preserved also through audio or video tapes. Nowadays, many media gadgets are available. So whenever you are conducting interviews, let it be recorded audio or video tapes. Limitations, of course, you are well aware of limitations because there is no one who have never faced interview in his life, her life. Everybody of us has faced interviews. It's a time-consuming task. Transcribed form of interviews must for response to read. transcription is required in interview situations, not able to retain anonymity, uncomfortable. I think all of you are aware of that many of the interviews are uncomfortable with the recording. They feel कि हमारा कहीं कुछ चला गया शायद, अगर किसी ने हमारे डेटा को कहीं और दूसरी सिचुएशन में यूज कर लिया तो क्या होगा. सो दे आर वेरी अनकंफर्टेबल विद दैट. सो इंटरव्यू कई बार ऐसा होता है कि इंटरव्यू में रिवील नहीं करना चाहते. Then we have another techniques also. So think of these techniques related. I think एक्शन रिसर्चर के पास एक बहुत बड़ा हथियार और भी है कि उसके he or she is having a student general, teacher general, class general. Many generals are there available with the teacher to know about the real ground realities of the students on which he or she is attempting a action research. Because if you just look at students general, students daily thoughts are there, perceptions are there, experiences of the classroom are described there. In teacher general also narrative accounts of professional reflections on practice होना चाहिए. लेकिन कंडीशन ये है कि ये सारे जनरल्स हमारे टीचर्स भरते हों, सारे टीचर्स हमारे ये स्कूल में अवेलेबल हों, तब तो एक्शन रिसर्चर ये सारी चीजें यूज कर सकता है. लेकिन अगर ये अवेलेबल नहीं है, इनकी प्रैक्टिस में नहीं है ये, then nobody can use that. So look at these generals, though they are very strong techniques or tools for data collection, particularly when we are talking of qualitative data collection. But if situations are not providing us this, then probably we should not use, we cannot use this, because we will not be getting anything out of those journals, because those are blanks. But if practice is there, healthy practice is there, many of the things you will be getting out of these student journals, teacher journals, and classroom journals. I think one important source of data collection is, one important technique or tool of data collection is existing documents and records. This is of course secondary source of data collection, but sometimes they are giving you very important, very significant information about the study. So use that data. Many records are available, many records at government level, at a school level, district level, at the cluster level. Records are available in many forms. At individual level also, students is keeping at different levels. I would say records are available wherever needed, wherever, whatever is available. Try to identify, try to discover those records and make use of those records in your action research situation. I think again I would say characteristics of qualitative research already I have discussed with you. Accuracy, credibility, and dependability, these three are very important. And the solution is prolonged engagement and persistent observation. For qualitative research to be of quality, to bring in accuracy, credibility, and dependability in qualitative researches, particularly with respect to data collection, we have to have prolonged engagement and we have to have persistent observation. Continuous, for long period we have to engage, we have to have for long period we have to observe the phenomena to happen. Then only you can bring in qualitative characteristics in qualitative data collection. Likewise, quantitative data collection techniques are also there. I think all of you are well aware of these techniques. But in quantitative data collection techniques, one of the disadvantages is that in-depth study cannot be made, because qualitative data gives you depth, whereas quantitative data is not giving you that kind of depth which is available in qualitative data. Of course, questionnaire, checklist, rating scales, test, and other formal type of measurement instruments are available for quantitative data collection purposes. And I think all of you are well aware of all these, because till date our focus was on quantitative data collection technique. So think of using that. I think need not to go. Only thing I would like to say is rating scale can be of two different types. One is Likert type, another one is Likert type scales. In Likert type scale, we are having strongly agree to strongly disagree, wherein in Likert type we are having, wherein we are saying excellent, poor, always, never, very comfortable, not at all comfortable. We are having other than extent of agreement. But in Likert type, we are having statements wherein answer is agreement or disagreement. So these two type of scales, particularly rating scales, are very popular. Checklist, wherein you are having dichotomy, wherein you are having behavior to be present or not present. When your focus is just to know about the situation, whether it is available or not available, think of using that checklist. Then another important aspect is, I think, test, actual conduction of the test. Many times we need to have data collection with the help of tests. The test can be standardized tests with norms and all these things you will be having. Another type of test you can conduct for data collection is teacher developed test, wherein researcher himself or herself is developing that test depending upon the requirement of the situation. And third one is normal classroom tests, wherein classroom tests are used for the purpose of data collection. So these three variety of tests you can use as a tool for data collection, and all these three tools are giving you quantitative data. They are ability related data. As we have discussed in case of qualitative data characteristics, here in quantitative case also we have certain characteristics. Two important characteristics are there: validity and reliability. Validity also we can think of internal validity and external. This is external, sorry. Just make it a correction that this is external, this is internal. So internal and external correct validity is there. Then in reliability case, we calculate the coefficient of consistency. Sometimes we calculate the coefficient of stability. Sometimes we calculate the coefficient of predictability. So these three type of reliability we are calculating. Here we are having two type of validity. So make sure that whether it is action research or normal research, whatever data you are collecting, that data is of good quality. Doesn't matter that you are collecting quantitative or qualitative data, but data should fulfill the characteristics of that nature of the data, definitely. Because dependency of data, your inferences are dependent on the quality of your data, because whatever data is there, you are analyzing that data and ultimately you are trying to find out that data. And whatever data you are collecting is dependent on your tool also, on your technique also. So once you have decided a good tool or technique for collection of data, you will be getting the final results which are dependable, which are reliable, which are very valid. So this is a critical, crucial stage of the action research, that think of twice before deciding, identifying the tool or technique of data collection. Last but not the least, very important is, for all action research purposes, try to have a data collection plan or data collection framework, whatever you may like to call it, wherein you are very clear in your mind that for achieving this objective one, I will be having this technique or tool, and I will be having these respondents to answer that particular issue, and this responsibility will be of this particular individual. So objective wise, think of deciding, identify tool or technique for each and an objective along with respondents as well as responsibility. Ultimately, I would say that every action researcher must prepare data collection plan. In absence of that, we will not be systematic and we will be moving here and there, and we will questioning ourselves also at the later stage that why we have not done this. So this was all about today's discussion. You may ask questions. You may please raise questions so that I can satisfy your needs. Please. Thank you very much. Hello.
Yes, sir. We are waiting for questions.
Okay, okay.
Dear friends, we have unmuted from our side. If you have some questions related to today's lecture, you can raise here at chat box or raise your hand for talking with us. Hello.
Any question, please?
Martha ma'am, are you listening me? Kuldeep
Right
ji,
now
are you
you don't-
listening?
If right now you don't have question, you keep question with you. We will be discussing next day also. No problem.
No problem, sir.
है ना?
Oh,
If
okay,
you
sir.
have right now, raise that. If don't have, be ready with your question. We'll be answering again.
Okay, sir. No
So
problem.
don't keep that question with you only. Okay?
Okay, sir. Okay.
So
Many,
thank
many
you
thanks to you, sir.
Thank
Many
you very
thanks
much.
to all participants. And tomorrow we will change the time. It will be at 5 o'clock. I will inform you at group. Many thanks to you.